Hey everyone, Brian Bogner along with Greg Towner, and we are here to discuss. This is our 20-minute market breakdown that we do every month, and today's topic is going to be none other than the topic of AI. Now, it's not going to be, it's going to be a discussion because AI has really bubbled up, and we're actually going to be talking about bubbles as well, but it's bubbled up a lot of emotion, it's bubbled up a lot of thoughts and a lot of debate around, is this good for us? Is this not good for us? What's going on here with everything? So today we're going to be covering some different angles, opportunities, risks in this call. Now, I want to start by saying I think AI is arguably the most important topic for not only today but for years to come. I know there's some geopolitical stuff going on in the Middle East and around the world and things like that, and those are so important. But if there's one thing that's going to affect everything, okay, economy, jobs, quality of life, businesses, financial markets, social events and activities, arts and healthcare, like you can just take it across everything and it's affecting it all in some form or fashion. It's affecting it in a good way, it's affecting it in a bad way. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about that. Greg, thoughts initially?
Yeah, no, that's definitely one thing that we're going to agree on today, Brian, is I do think that this is probably, years from now when we look back on our career, this very well could be the biggest, broadest topic that touches the most things, not just the investing side, but the economy, careers, life, everything. This is arguably the biggest, topic of our careers, and that's
Yeah.
part of why it's so important to investing and one of the reasons we're going to talk about it today.
All right. Let me start by saying I was one of the very earliest adopters of AI,
Hmm.
meaning that as soon as, everything broke in, what was it, November of 2022, I immediately started using it. That year in 2023, I spent a lot of time learning about it, learning, and again, as a user. I'm not a programmer.
Right.
I was listening to all these different AI podcasts. I actually had a blog, a video blog that year for financial advisors on how they can use AI. It was called aitools.com and still out there if you want to see it. But it was is about helping financial advisors use AI tools. I haven't recorded a video in years in that thing, but um, so early on, I really I knew that I saw where this was going and came in. So keep in mind everything I say today, I'm still 100% you have to get on this train. It's not if or when or maybe something's going to change. You have to be on this train. You have
Yeah.
to understand it. It's not it's 100% you got to get in it, right? That being said, um,
Mhm.
I like to use the internet example, right? Like when the internet came out in
Mhm.
the late 90s and all that other kind of stuff. I believe we're in a bubble. I believe we're in a bubble with AI right now. Not that it's going to burst and oh, see, AI was just a hoax, y'all. Get back to what we were doing before. But I think what's happening is there's some parts of AI that have really moved up, for whether that's an investment side or just these other things, and it is creating a bit of a bubble here in some areas. One of the things, I don't have a chart to show you. It's called the Gartner curve, but you can take everything, whether that's internet, um, 3D printing, nanotechnology. You can take all these things all these new like breakthrough technological changes, and what happens is we get into this bubble. Everything's kind of swell a little bit. They get a little crazy. It goes down, and then the real long-term growth begins. And I think we're somewhere up here. I don't know how long this is going to last or whatnot, but I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of froth there right now. So I'll turn it over to you,
Yeah.
Greg. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I agree to some extent. I mean, certainly though, I've been hearing from a lot of people asking me the question for the past, I don't know, let's call it 18 months or so, like, oh, is this the dot com? You went through that. Is this the exact same thing? Are we reliving this or what have you? And the question is that there's some very obvious similarities. Like, oh my gosh, this on the surface, it almost looks like the repeat of early in our careers, right? But as you dig down into it a little more, there's also some important differences, in my opinion. So, yes, some sub areas of this whole move have gone just kind of parabolic straight up, and that feels uncomfortable, no question about it. But as you look back at that kind of dot-com era, believe it or not, the valuations now are substantially lower than then. Just like the tech sector back then was like a 60 PE, and now we're like in the mid 20s. And then just the companies in general are much, much healthier now. I mean, so many of these big companies that are involved in AI have massive cash flows, incredible earnings growth. Back then, it was, a lot of companies didn't even have revenue, let alone earnings. What I do agree with you on is, at some point there's going to be a really big, drawdown for the stocks involved in this. It doesn't always come when people think, right?
Right.
What was it? Irrational exuberance was what Greenspan said in 95, and then it kept growing for another 5 years. But when it does have that pullback, like you said, the Gartner curve, that's where you're going to see the real companies, benefit, take advantage of that pullback. The solid, fundamental, high quality companies will take advantage of that period and benefit themselves and probably their stocks going forward from there.
So, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I do think, however, that the amount of expenditures that companies are spending in AI right now, like when you really think about, right, I mean, at the end of the day, it's coming down to data centers. We need more data centers, right? So the
Yeah.
amount of money that is getting spent on these data centers and the amount that they're so what your point is, yes, they're making money today. Their valuations are not as bad as they were back then. I would say the investments that companies were making in the internet back then were a fraction of what they're having to make today. And so they're making all these expenses. And if it doesn't translate into a model where they can, increase revenue or do something to make that back, I think that's an issue.
Yeah, that's fair. Because a lot of these companies that we're talking about, and without even naming them, everybody knows the names of these big mega cap, AI tech related companies. They were known for their just massive free cash flow that they generated. It was unbelievable. And now they're spending a huge amount of that on this CapEx type build out for AI. And so there's some of the belief from positive investors. They're like, oh, well, they can kind of turn that off when they want and get back to cash flow and all will be good. But
Right.
you look at the comments from the CEOs of these companies, and they're like, "Look, this is the most, like we said off the top, this is the most important,
Right.
technology of our careers. We have to spend. We cannot lose this." So, from the positive side, from the economy, I think they are going to keep spending. But to your points, there's a fine line there where, you can only spend so much, right? So, luckily, they have a lot of cash flow to do it, but you'd like to see them use that cash flow for other things too.
Right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Like when we talk about bubbles, though, fear of missing out, right? And so fear of missing
Sure.
out is what we got to do. Everyone else is doing it. And
Yeah.
if we don't do it, we're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And that can work over the short term, but it rarely works out long term, in my opinion. And again, all this money's getting spent on data centers, right? And power, right? Data centers, and we gotta figure out how we're going to power them. Well, what's happening, right? What's happening is they're building data centers in all these areas of the country. I live in South Carolina. Greg, you're up in North Carolina. But the pushback now is starting to get real. Like people are saying, "Hey, wait, you're putting this big data center here. It's going to be taking our water. It's going to be taking our electricity. What does that mean for us? Like, what do we, how does that affect us?"
Yeah.
And so there is a big pushback now on this as well, and it's going to be interesting to see. I know big projects have already been canceled because the overwhelming swell is coming back. And the thing that when let's get into the political piece of this, right? Because I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, politicians at the end of the day want to get elected, right? They're going to do what their
Mhm.
constituents tell them to do, otherwise they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, if their constituents, the politicians haven't really gotten involved yet. You've not seen like wide scale regulation come out being like, well, no data centers here. You can only do this, or you can only do this or that. And that's just on the data center scene. Here's the, and I'm, because I want to hear your thoughts on this, but then I also want to hear your thoughts. Politicians have not got into regulating AI yet, really. I want to get to that, but let's talk about this infrastructure scene and the
Yeah.
pushback there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of pushback. I mean, look, let's be honest. None of us want a data center in our backyard, right? I mean, the reality is they're massive, huge, huge buildings that use up a lot of energy. And after the construction, don't create a lot of jobs. There's not that many people that run these facilities. They're great for the construction industry when they're being built, no question. Our portfolios are benefiting from that. But afterwards, they're more of a drag on things. I mean, So if I had to defend it, this is what I would say. Like it's normal to have pushback when there's big changes. People don't like change, particularly when they think it might impact them. Like you said off the top, I mean, AI is here to stay one way or another. Like it's going to
Right,
happen.
right.
And I think one way that is it's going to potentially happen is a lot of these mega cap tech companies that, like you said, need all this energy. They're more and more trying to create ways to not connect these data centers to the main energy grids that we all use to light up our homes. They're trying to do their own sort of energy infrastructure, either on site or otherwise, whether that's solar or some kind of new nuclear thing or their own natural gas connection. So that's not for all of them by any stretch, but they're realizing the pushback. They know more of it is coming from politicians or otherwise, and so they are aware of it. They're trying to find workarounds, but I think between here and there, it's going to get louder, like you think, like you say. I mean, just in the last few days, I've seen some commencement speeches, videos at local colleges, or not local colleges, but at colleges across the country, and the speakers were talking about AI, and they immediately get booed, right? So it's growing louder. But, like anything that's a big headline or a concern, I think eventually it kind of gets pushed more to the back over time.
Yeah. And that's just again, that's on that piece. I think the other piece too with politicians and with regulation is that the actual AI itself, right? These actual large
Mm,
language models.
yeah,
I mean, of course, we read these articles about some of the crazy things that, oh, help me plan a terrorist attack, help me do this, help me do that. And they're trying to regulate these things. Well,
yeah,
I mean, think about how far behind our government has been on, and it's been awful, like how far behind on regulating social media. And social
right.
media is, they don't even understand. And AI is changing so fast.
And you want our average, what, 70-year-old senator trying to decide how to govern AI? Like, I
Uh,
mean, it changes daily.
but here's the thing. If the swelling is
Yeah,
negative, I think from a public perception that swelling's negative, and the swelling negative gets to be enough, what will happen is they will start regulating something. They're going to do
yeah,
something because I did something, I did something
yeah.
about it. I'm Brian
Right.
Wagner, I'm running for office, right? And they're going to
Hmm.
do something, and it may
Yeah.
not be, and I think the net effect will be negative for these companies.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right with that. I mean, I think there's a long history of companies finding different ways to work around regulations,
Yeah.
whatever that may be, whatever industry that may be. But you're right, that the hammer is coming at some point. What it looks like, I mean, who knows what. But yeah,
And one thing too, uh, I do think there is a risk to our jobs, and I want to take two sides of this
yeah,
on the job piece because I know that there's been a million articles out there. AI is coming for your job. It's coming for your job, and I believe in many ways it is, but I do think it's still years off. Okay, like the idea that there's some companies come out and say, oh, we're laying people off, we're laying people off due to AI, AI, AI. I personally believe that's a bunch of BS because I think they overhired during COVID, and they're using it as an excuse now and most of these companies they're doing are tech companies. You're not really seeing,
right.
your Main Street companies out there announce
Yeah,
layoffs due to AI. Um, but they are coming, and they're just not there yet. And
yeah.
there are, excuse me, AI agents. They're still, I mean, we're still on the wild, wild west with these things. They're not secure. There's all these things you can make, but eventually they are. And I know, like even for my kids, I think about, all right, what is it that you can do that
Yeah,
AI is not going to do and take away at some point, right? I
right.
mean, if your job is data focused and it's repeatable over and over again, you're likely going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Don't you agree? Or what? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to be naive and say AI is not going to impact jobs. I mean, it almost certainly is. But you hear all these doomsday scenarios, and it doesn't seem to really be happening yet. If you look at the broader unemployment numbers, they're
Hmm.
holding pretty steady. And like you said, a lot of these companies that are making these announcements, I think it's just an excuse to,
Right.
bake in bad decisions they made. But even I've seen some comments from CEOs like Salesforce, the big
Right.
customer relationship software company. Their
Right.
CEO has really turned around. He thought it was going to be doomsday. Now he's like, we're hiring more software engineers because of this. the website Indeed that does jobs postings, they said they're seeing faster growings for software engineers than other things. So
Well,
I think longer term, the impact is going to be bigger than right now.
I will tell you this. The AI today
Hmm.
for the average worker, the average person,
Right.
in my opinion, makes them much more productive.
Yeah.
So, if I have three people doing this job and now all of a sudden I can equip them with AI and they can be 20 or 30% more productive just because now they're being powered by what they're doing and it's taking care of some things and allowing them to be more productive. Sometimes I might say, well, shoot, if that's the case, maybe I can hire two more people, right? If I can get that kind of
Yeah.
productivity, then maybe I can hire a couple more
Right.
people and then really exponentially,
Yeah.
scale
I'm
or do
hearing that.
whatever we're trying to do. So I do think there's positives there. There's no doubt. But I do think there are jobs that will be 100%
Yeah.
eliminated for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. It's going to be fascinating to see in the years ahead.
All right. So this is only a 20-minute podcast. We could probably spend the next hour and talk on these things. Let's talk about kind of how these topics impact how we invest in AI, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously, we as a firm, we're an investment firm and we do invest in these things. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, people are just kind of hearing a little snippet today of what we talk about a lot on our investment side on our team, have these discussions, maybe even debates occasionally to think about all angles, keep open-minded to various outcomes. But to us, I mean, AI, however it plays out, is going to be very impactful on the investment side. So we're playing it largely from what in our industry you might call kind of the picks and shovels type of approach. A lot of these companies benefiting from all this construction build out of not just the data centers, but really the whole energy grid, energy security, big semiconductor companies that all that CapEx we talked about is going to them a lot. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways you can play the AI theme, not just from an opportunity standpoint, but also just from a risk standpoint, who might
Hmm.
be, more at risk. So it's definitely a part of most of our portfolios. We see that going forward, but we also are aware, like you said, hey, at some point there could be a kind of a bubble-ish type thing popping. So that comes back to our risk management strategy of not letting it get to be too large a position and not be afraid to kind of utilize some cash at some point if we think the risks are getting too high.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, again, I if AI is here to stay, it's
Yeah,
changing things. We're investing in it. We're investing in the areas that are the net receivers for lack of a better word, right? In the infrastructure in the areas that are
right.
growing a lot right now, and so it is an opportunity. Okay, whether you agree or not, it's still an opportunity. And my I think my advice that I want to leave is as we kind of wrap this up here is you've got to get on this train and you've got to embrace it in some form or fashion. If you feel overwhelmed or you feel like, oh, I know a lot of people say, well, I'm just too old. I'm just too old. And look, if you're if you're 60 years old or 65 years old listening to this, there's a good chance, and AI may very well be a reason why. There's a good chance you're going to live another 25 years. Okay. And that's a long, long time. And you're going to be productive and doing things and out and about and whatnot. So there are ways to learn. We're big users of AI here at Parallel. We have very secure systems that we use. Everyone here in our group uses it, and it affects their job and it makes them more productive. We even have a week, weekly thing where it's like, what did you do with AI today? How'd you use AI to help you, fix some of these things or do some of this stuff or make it a little bit easier. So you need to embrace it. If you're listening to this and you don't know where to start, give us a call. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction and show you some things. But it is not going away. It is here to stay. And Greg, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no,
Closing us
I
out
think
here.
I'll just close it out by just saying, hat tip to you for being a leader on the technology side of this. Like you said, you kind of grabbed onto this early on, and I think it's been great for us as a firm that you've kind of become a subject matter expert and are driving all of us to use it more. And so, looking forward to the future with it. It's going to have a lot of shocking results, good and bad for everybody involved. But let's move forward with it and do it the best we can. And I think I'll just leave it there.
All right, good deal. So we always like to close with some recommendations. What do you got for us this month?
Yeah, just real quick, a couple things. First, I know a lot of people have stepped away from basketball in recent years, but right now is the time to get back into it. The playoffs are super intense. We have two of the most young, exciting, incredible teams in the Western Conference, OKC and San Antonio. And then I'm a Knicks fan, so great basketball happening right now. But then on the investment side, away from AI here, we've seen a recent spike in interest rates lately to recent highs, and that's creating some headwinds for things, mortgage rates or even the stocks to some extent. But with everything that happens, there's always kind of creates opportunities too. So if you're someone that's kind of in or near that age where fixed income is maybe more appealing in your portfolio, it's more attractive than it has been in years right now, including some what's called TIPS, some treasury inflation protected securities that are getting more and more appealing, particularly if you own the individual one. So that's something we can help you with. Just a recommendation for us to reach out to your advisor and talk to us about it.
And then my recommendation is actually going to be AI related, and it's for the people that maybe just haven't. They're just like, I'm not sure what do I want to do here, or this or that. I'm going to give you just a quick, easy thing to do. There's an app, okay, because there's always an app, okay, when it comes to just about everything these days.
Right.
And you can also use it online, just on your computer as well. But it's called Perplexity. Perplexity. I believe there is a free version. Pay the $20 a month and get the paid version. It's exponentially light years better. And just start using it for your like Google searches. Like you normally go on Google, search this. You might go here, search that, search this, whatever. Where do I find this? How do I do this? What about this? What about that? I am saying go to Perplexity and just start using it as your search. I have it on my phone here and I use it all the time. It even has a thing I can just be like, hey, what da 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 da, and I'll speak into it, and it'll actually just speak me back the answer, and then I can like even just have a conversation with it about it. Oh, and it'll say, yeah, there's three options here. You can do this and that. What are you thinking? And I'll be like, well, let's do option three, whatever it is, and you can just go back and forth, and then get to what you want. The nice thing about Perplexity, it's not driven by ad dollars. It's not pushing things up to the top that people spend money on or anything like that. It's using an algorithm that's very neutral. So it's going to give you that, it's going to search a lot of things and really give you that information. When you go and do a Google search, the things that are up front are the things that people are paying Google a lot of money to be up front for you. So I would recommend that. That's just a good way to get started. Perplexity does so many more things than that. But just I'm willing to bet all of us do internet searches in some form or fashions and probably use Google. So if you're not using it, that'd be a great way to start. So I'll close this out there. Thanks so much for listening today. Have a blessed rest of your week, and you can always reach us here if you have any questions at all, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.